So for this afternoon, we have the pleasure of inviting Dr. Wong from Learning Sciences Laboratory to share with us his topic on leveraging mobile technology for seamless language learning from Move Idioms to MyCLOUD. Shall we welcome him, please? Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm going to have a lot of slides here, but then what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to flash some of them to show you that something happened, but I'm not going into too much details because I'm only given 30 minutes to do so. So anytime if you want to have a snack while I'm speaking, be my guest. Yeah, so that's fine. So I'm going to talk about this leveraging mobile technology for seamless learning, language learning, seamless language learning for Move Idioms to MyCLOUD. But what happened is that original plan is that I'm going to give a presentation after the next one. Originally, we planned for a different sequence because actually these two projects are actually spin-off projects or conceptual spin-off of the projects we're going to present, which Dr. Louis Chikit and Dr. Cheng Wen are going to present in the next session. But then because I have something to do, I need to rush down to school in the afternoon, so I need to go on first. Yeah, but there are some of the things that maybe by the time that when Dr. Louis and Dr. Chen give presentation, you have a better idea of what this seamless learning is about. Yeah, because there are more general things to talk about. But by the way, I'm also part of their team. Okay, so but these two projects, which happen to be language learning projects, are my own projects. So now we start with this question: where shall learning take place? Okay, a very general idea, general thoughts, not just about mobile learning, not just about ICT for learning, but where shall any type of learning take place? Something that we are very familiar is this. It looks very military. And this is something I quite like. Because I think this is something that really encapsulates the basic idea. What is the basic nature of learning? It's about curiosity. Fulfill curiosity, and then you make meaning, you make sense about what the world is about, what surrounding you. So this is something I believe in, the basic nature of learning. But we often ignore this basic nature. So this is something that we do it online. This is post-1970, post-1980, post-1990, we do this. Once in a while, but getting more often. So it's not just about Second Life, not just about virtual world, but also about any type of cyberspace-based learning. Now, so we have all these type of possible ways of learning, all these type of possible places to do our learning. The question is that how shall technology-enhanced language learning be carried out? So that's another question I want to ask here. So this is something we call it CALL, C-A-L-L, stand for Computer-Assisted Language Learning. There's another term which is called TEL, not just call but also TEL. TEL is Technology Enhanced Language Learning. So these are our two acronyms talking about how these ICT can come into language learning. So it started with 1970s and 1980s when people doing this drill and practice type of these language learning activities through computers. We roughly know what types of computer we had during that period of time. Usually they focus more on structurists. They consider language as structures in the mind. You're trying to transfer the structure into the student's mind, and also behaviorist learning. And in 1980 and 1990, we have start to look into how to bring in connectivist learning in the language learning in general. And in terms of core, they start to look into communicative way of language learning using computer and using network. And then more recently, we look into social connectivism. So building on drill and practice and communicative, we also have this task-based learning, project-based language learning, or authentic language learning. So these are things that we believe core can facilitate or enhance. Now the vision that my team had proposed is something we call seamless language learning. I just simplified it as SLL. So the earlier study we have was Move Idioms. Before I come into what's meant by seamless learning, I talked about this earlier study we have, which was Move Idioms, we completed already. We collaborated with Singapore Center for Chinese Language as well as Nanchao Primary School, and I just showed a video to show some of the students' work. I just not going to describe first what it is about, but this is basically a mobile learning activity, and quite a long-term one. Not really long-term, but ongoing type of activity. It was 9 to 10 months. It will take 9 to 10 months. So while learning idioms, they are supposed to take photos in their daily life to demonstrate the use of the idioms, and they make sentences. So before that, we actually get the students to do it in classroom in small group setting. So that prepare them to do it at home, because we get them the phone and let them use it anytime, anywhere, 24/7. So they were supposed to share it on Wiki. And we wanted to discuss, not just completed their work, but they need to discuss, they need to reflect, they need to make social meaning making. How can to stimulate their creativity, as they choose Susan well. And we played those judges. This is very impromptu. They just see this, associate the idiom, they take photo. But we try to bring in parents. So at home, most of them using toys to create all these. Okay, and this one. And this is the younger sister of the student, and her facial expression look the same. Another sister. And I like this angle. So that's also how we stimulate the parental and students kind of co-creation of artifacts. Kind of making it kind of their own photo blog, because they record their life even during all these festivals, all this. Okay, so these are our quick photo, quick video. Let me come back. Oops, where am I? Okay, before I come back to move idioms, let me just quickly talk about what is meant by this seamless learning. Seamless learning was proposed in 2006 by a group of very prominent researchers all over the world. There are 17 researchers, international researchers, including Dr. Lui here, and a few others, many others from Taiwan, from France, from USA, from South Africa, from Japan, a lot of them. Yeah. So they proposed this, it means that the learning experience should be continuously get across different contexts. The students, each of them taking one-to-one. We call it one-to-one. That means that one mobile device per student. And they can have access to it 24/7. It means that they just carry everywhere to support their learning across different contexts, such as we are linking, bridging from formal to informal learning in class and out of school. And also individual and social learning want to bring together, and also physical and digital, learning in physical world and learning in digital world. So we'll try to link everything together, not just learning within the classroom or learning out of classroom, but we want to bridge them. Yeah. So we want to use mobile device to mediate all these learning activities. It doesn't mean that without mobile device you cannot do that, but mobile device can actually enhance this or even transform the way of learning. Yeah, I'm going to explain why. So that's why it's hard to tell when it's the beginning or the end of learning. It sounds like you finish this learning session within your classroom, but then when you go home, you can carry on applying it reflect upon it, and even challenge what the teacher said. And you bring back all your experience to the classroom. Yeah, so these are things you can do. This is what we mean by seamless learning. We're trying to remove the seams between different contexts. So, and MOE, we know they talk about in their MP3, Master Plan, IT Master Plan 3, they talk about self-directed learning and collaborative learning. So all these are actually part of seamless learning, but we want more than just about that. Yeah. So the rationale of seamless language learning, why we introduce seamless learning into language learning. We consider there are critical problems in, we call it the traditional L2 refers to second language, L2 classrooms. They always are excessive of decontextualized information. We just teach them all these are maybe vocabularies, we teach them grammars, rules, all these things. And most of that are decontextualized. Or even if it's contextualized, such as in your story and in your textbook passages, there are some context within each passage. But we call it second-hand experiences in classroom context. This is not just our criticism, but actually it's a criticism by some of the language learning experts since the 1990s and 2000. And they are always require indirect and language knowledge. So the language learning theorists have been advocating formal and informal language learning that link together, even since 1969. Somebody already proposed this. And this actually implies greater learner autonomy. Now we want to train, not really train, we want to nurture students to become self-directed, autonomous learners, and also collaborative learners, of course. And you know, for MOE, last year, when they proposed this mother tongue language review committee, they proposed something we call active learners, proficient users. So, but what I found is that they didn't emphasize too much on learner autonomy. This is very similar. We're talking about also, we not just want to learn, we want them to learn about authentic context, authentic usage of language. But they are still pretty much talking about teacher-facilitated, school-facilitated kind of learning. But we emphasize a lot more on learner autonomy. That's what's the major difference between seamless language learning and the framework that MTL review committee have proposed. Okay, so the question is that how can mobile and ubiquitous technology help in this? So this is something that our team have built on Eliot Soloway and Kelly Norris' idea about learning hub. We consider the mobile device that each student carry as the learning hub, so that their personalized learning device, they have a set of learning affordances, which means that the features, the software and hardware features that the student can use it, and is actually they own it. And also the learner history, including, say for example, the resources they collected, the resources they downloaded, the artifacts they created, the notes they have taken, all these things. So these are the learning hubs, the two major components of learning hubs we're talking about. And for this, I propose this type of a learning hub. In the past, our idea was that the learning hub is just the mobile device itself, each student, the mobile device that each student carry. But now, I propose something, we use cloud computing instead. So part of the learning affordances are on the cloud, as well as learner history. And you have mobile device, you have another set of learner affordances. Say for example, you take photo, you cannot use cloud computing to take photo, but you have to use a mobile device to take photo. But with that, you can access to the cloud to make use of other sets of learning affordances as well as learner history. And also, formal setting, the teacher's laptop during classroom session, they can also access to the same cloud computing, access to all students' learning history, and also some of the learning affordances. And informal setting, when the student at home, when they have the chance to sit down, they can use their computer at home also to access to the cloud. So in this case, mobile device becomes something that bridging formal and informal learning setting. But then the learning hub becomes something that on the cloud rather than on the mobile device itself. Yeah, so that's the new model of learning hub that I proposed in my most recent paper I published. And so this is also about, in terms of seamless language learning, they want this model to support learner involvement, learner reflection, and target language use across context. So these three are what somebody called Little who proposed, which is a language learning expert. And the marriage of seamless language learning and more, we have more studies have been focusing on either formal learning and informal learning. So this is what we have done seen in the past. More stand for mobile assisted language learning. Yeah, so now we have core and then we have more. So we go to the more now, but the more studies have been focusing on, in the past have been focusing on either side. We want to bridge them. So seamless language learning, we want the student, first of all, they're able to apply and reflect upon the knowledge they learn in the classroom. within their daily life, they apply and reflect upon the language they learn. And they communicate and articulate their thoughts, produce linguistic artifacts such as essays, tweets, blog entries, all these on the web. And they're supposed to fit all these situated learning gains either in their daily life or on the web back to the classroom. So this is a seamless learning model that we're envisaging. So this is a facilitated seamless learning design framework that I proposed in 2010. And over here, this is a cyclic model. So we're going to start with activity 1, teacher to facilitate some activities within classroom or within campus, or sometimes I bring them out to some outdoor learning opportunities to prepare them for the students' own usage of this mobile device for their learning at home, and outdoor, everywhere. So we go down from formal learning setting to informal learning setting. So such as just how I mentioned, let's say we're going to get a student to do this idiom activity. The student is supposed to work in activity 1 is supposed to work in small group. They co-create, brainstorm, co-create some of the artifacts so that at home the student will be able to do this by themselves or they work together with their family members. And then they post it online for peer discussion. So this we come to this part, activity 3. And finally we bring back to the classroom for consolidation. So this is a cyclic model. They're supposed to keep going on and on. And you can realize that this part, we're mainly using the mobile device, and this is a contextualization of vocabulary learning. So it's more contextualized, more application part. And when we come to this part, it's more, we're mainly using Wiki, using Web 2.0, and this is generalization, reflection of vocabulary knowledge. So what we envisage about seamless language learning is also about language input and output. We want to bridge language input and output, as well as we're trying to bridge application and reflection. So these are the things that we build on top of the general seamless learning model. Okay, a seamless cycle of language learning. So we have starting from form, meaning, link. Let's say we're learning vocabulary. We want the student to be able to learn. Okay, so spelling and this is the meaning. Followed by contextualized understanding. And next, we want to use it in contextualized manner, like in daily life. Say, for example, when they're doing this idiom, photo taking and sentence making, that's actually created from their daily life. And the generalization of word meanings, we want them to generalize through discussion. They compare the usage of different students and see whether there are some similarity or wrong usage, correct usage, all this. So, about move idioms, we did it in February to November 2010. It was a design-based research which we actually went through about 48 Chinese idioms and 8 conjunctions. We want to try out different types of vocabulary, not just idioms, to see the versatility of this model. We have 34 students from primary 5 classes. Each of them have 1-to-124 access. Our project lends this Samsung Onia 2 to them. So we use an open source XWiki to create a wiki space for artifact sharing and peer reviews, what we did. And based on our students' work, we have throughout those 9 months, the student actually created about 860 something sets of artifacts. So only 34 students that created so many of them. And we actually did some analysis, and we did 3 types of categorization, which I won't go into too much detail, but I want to show you some examples. Say, for example, we want to look at the photo context itself, types of physical settings. Either, first type is natural setting. They just see this associated with idiom, they take a photo. And then another type is object manipulation. They use their toys or use other objects. They manipulate, create a new context. And then they take a photo and make sentences. And also they get somebody to enact something. We also saw their sisters, their father who did that. And then previously published materials, either they grab something from a web photo, or maybe even sometimes when they watch TV, they just take a photo from a TV. It's great that I think even they're watching TV, they keep thinking of idioms. I think that's a nice thing to do. In this case, I think it's a hard rock cafe with a car. Of course, it's just a prop, but then they say, okay, I'm dumbstruck seeing this. They're scared. They thought it's real. So, also, we're talking about social meaning making. Social meaning making, that means that they need to make comparison. We purposely actually bring together the same idioms but different students who create artifacts based on the same idioms, we bring them together and make comparison. Okay, and let us discuss whether this is correct, this is wrong, this is ambiguous, the usage, contextual usage, is it correct or wrong or not? So this is something we call is a personal to social meaning making trajectory, which we're trying to push the boundary of learning materials. It means that the learning materials is no longer, all the materials have to be provided by teachers, but the students' authentic materials, they can become learning materials for everybody to share and discuss. And then, of course, they contain some of the ambiguous and wrong usage, but that's actually a great thing. Errors are student mistakes, errors they make, misconceptions, these are not evils, but actually we want to turn them into something that can help them, the student, to reflect and to discuss, to make social meaning making. And we like this family member involvement. Like this, we consider this a very powerful resource. We have this experience of how the mother and daughter come together to do this kind of brainstorming to co-create this sentence. Again, I won't go into too much detail, but if you're interested, we have papers and we have slides we can share with you. And then from Move Idioms to MyCLOUD, so this is towards we call it a scalable seamless language learning environment where Move Idioms, it sounds good, and we actually get very good results coming up from the students. We find nice. But the issues are, we have challenges. Say, for example, scalability, sustainability is something that I think NIE have been keep talking about in more recent years. We want to scale it up. We want to translate it. But the issue is that it's considered an add-on to the teachers. It's not part of the formal curriculum. Yeah. So it's nice to have, but it's very resource consuming. It has been proven it can be a very effective way of learning if you execute it properly, but it's certainly not efficient. Yeah, it can take a long time to complete all these things, but then, wow. So, and another issue is that it may enrich a student's oral and written expressions if you just learn individual idioms. Yeah, individual idioms separately. But the effects on the overall language proficiency are restricted. This is something how I feel. And we want to look into psycholinguistics matter to see whether you can shed light. And we propose something that we're talking about this mental lexicon, but which I'm not going into too much detail. Because, but then it means that we're using this psycholinguistics model to enhance our language learning process. Again, I won't go into detail, but this is something that we're looking into, which means that we want to focus, we want to actually pump in more this kind of language learning, especially second language acquisition theories into our seamless language learning model, not just looking at the seamless learning model itself. This is what we're going to do next. And that's why we propose this, we call it Yufei Xingyun or MyCLOUD, stand for My Chinese Language Ubiquitous Learning Days. And then it has nothing to do with iCloud. And we came up with this name before Apple announced iCloud. So, okay. But we actually signed an MOI on October 7, 2010 with 3 other organizations as listed there to work together with this project. And MyCLOUD, we propose we call it a social techno-pedagogical framework to guide the learning design, which is actually building on my Move Idioms this model. And we're going to do this ongoing researcher and teacher co-design process. We co-design together. We want the teacher's voice to be heard, not just everything come from our researchers. And we're also going to build a new platform to support this. It's a combination of both mobile and cloud computing. We have something we call a My Dictionary. Each student can maintain their own dictionary. Yeah, it's not just any e-dictionary, but each student maintain their own dictionary. It becomes kind of their vocabulary learning e-portfolio. Every time they learn a new vocabulary, they add this into their empty dictionary, and then they start to create content out of this by, let's say, taking photos, making sentences, or bringing some relevant YouTube videos, URL, all this. This is what they can do, or writing down any notes. And we also have integration into formal class. We want to revamp the classroom pedagogy, so make it part of the formal classroom lessons, so that you won't consider it as an add-on, and it's going to spend a lot of time, extra time. Then they need to squeeze their formal classroom sessions for our purpose. And we also consider scalability, so the platform is going to be device independent, but we're going to develop a mobile version out of this. And we're going to integrate linguistic technologies by Microsoft Research Asia in Beijing. There are some of the technology that we're taking from there. And this is our framework. Again, I'm not going to too much details, but basic idea is that you see the first four squares. It is the same as on top, seamless learning dimension, which is something the same as what we have in Move Idioms. And then language learning dimension, we want to bridge these two, bring these two together with starting from form meaning link. Then we want to do the student to do contextualized in this incidental learning, such as photo taking, sentence making, or social networking, status update. And we want them to do decontextualization by discussing what they've done, what they've used, the way they've used, different contexts they've used. And eventually, we want the student to construct their own mental lexicon. Again, I can't go into the detail, there's a time difference. So we have this kind of triangular process, and we're trying to map into the seamless learning plan. So this is the basic idea of our framework. And we have some of these activities I just quickly go through. Such as during a classroom session, what the student can do is that this is actually the text passage in their textbook, formal textbook. So the student, any vocabulary they don't understand, they can just highlight it, right click, and they're going to throw. What they're going to do is that they're going to throw into, highlight and right click. They're going to throw into their e-dictionary, my dictionary. We call it Mictionary, or which stands for mobile dictionary. Yeah. And then they create a new thing, and then what happens is that you see informal note, 便条 means note in English. So this is the part actually grabbed from Bing, Microsoft Bing. Yeah, so automatically grabbed from it. And the student can start to create contents from there. Yeah, so this is basic idea. And then, and then you compare how other students, how other friends have been using the same vocabulary in this slide, and then they start to discuss. And teacher's classroom management UI, the teacher can control what the students have been doing in the classroom. Yeah, they can decide, I want to lock this feature so the student cannot use it. Listen to me before we carry on with your work, and then I unlock some of the features that you can start making sentences and then come back to me. So this is something that we want to help the teacher to do classroom management. And this is a social networking, more personalized space where the student have to use Chinese to do their status update, and then at the same time, we're going to add this new feature where the student, again, they can just highlight and right click and add this sentence into their dictionary. Now, also for the dictionary case, not just from the textbook, you can add your own vocabulary that you learn incidentally. So not just textbook from the textbook. So this is essentially our conclusion. This is a learning design driven technological solution to address the gaps we talked about just now. There are two, either focus on formal learning or informal learning, but there's no linkage in between in the past. And we want the ubiquitous and cloud computing to mediate a simulation of, we call it, learning into learners' daily life. We want to assimilate this and address the common limitation of the prior more solution, which rarely go beyond behaviourism or contextualized learning. That's what in the past they've done. And seamlessness, we're talking about learning and doing. This is not a linear process, but a cyclic process. You learn and do, you come back and learn, you carry on doing. Because after you're doing, you can reflect, you come back and learn. So it's not interleaving, but blending together. You blend your learning into your daily life. Yeah. And learning is not just about huge input. We listen a lot, read a lot, that's what our formal language learning classrooms have been doing. But also about self-reflection and peer learning. So this is something we want to do. Okay, we have a journal publication of 9 publications, 9 journal papers so far, 3 of them are SSCI listed. And then we have 3 best paper awards before in some of the conferences. So these are what these 2 projects have achieved. Okay, this is our research team of both Idioms, where the director, executive director and deputy director of Singapore Centre of Chinese Language were my co-PIs in this project. Okay, and this is MyCLOUD team. Yeah. Okay, thank you.